this is John Cole with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today is one of my favorites, juice off comparison tests with two juicers that are currently on the market. Some of the two top rated vertical single auger juicers on the market at this time. Today I'll be testing out and comparing the Slowstar juicer by Tribest against the all-new Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite Model C7000 by Kuvings. Each one of these juicers in their own right is a really good juicer, and there's a few features that set this one apart, and there's features that set this one apart. So in this episode we're going to go ahead and dispel all the myths about these two juicers and share you guys the differences between them, every individual part, and then finally in this episode we're going to be juicing identical amounts of produce in each machine so that you guys could learn which juicer will reign supreme in this juice off comparison. Alright, so I think the first thing I'd like to do is give you guys my standard disclaimer, which is if you guys enjoy my videos, please support me in my work by making your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. This allows me to continue to make these educational videos on juicers and a variety of other topics on YouTube, including gardening and eating healthy, so that I could be the change in the world that I want to see. And I want to thank you guys that have supported me in the past, and thank you guys for those of you guys that will make your purchase at Discount Juicers in the future. That allows me to continue to make these videos, and if I'm not making these videos anymore, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. So yeah. It's tough running an independent, being an independent retailer these days. So yeah, just asking for some help. Anyways, let's get on with the juice off comparison today. Let's see, the Slowstar juicer has been out for many years now, and it's one of my top 3 favorite vertical single auger juicers at this time for a few main reasons. Number one, it's a pretty bulletproof juicer. It has like a really durable motor, nice powerful horsepower and torque, which actually I don't think I've ever been able to stop it up. I mean, it just chugs through whatever you put in there. In addition, it's probably like the best in the cost versus performance category. It's actually the lowest cost, best vertical single auger juicer I've tested. It does come with a 10-year warranty, and besides just being able to juice with the standard juicing attachment, Tribest gives you a whole separate homogenizing and mincing attachment that allows you to process things like frozen fruits in frozen fruit sorbet, also things like nuts in nut butters, also things like onions and tomatoes and cilantro into salsa. Also allows you to process and chop up things like cabbage so that you guys could make your own sauerkraut. Of course, you could also grind coffee beans and mince garlic and so many other things with this particular attachment. Now, of course, Kuvings, they offer the same thing, but instead of having an attachment like this, they have a little, just a single cone that goes in place of the juicing screen like this. Now, this attachment or blank plate for the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite Model 7000 only does the frozen fruit sorbet. It's not able to do the salsa, maybe able to do the nut butter, not able to do things like the chopping the cabbage up into kraut, because it basically has this, I don't know if you guys could see that in the little hole there before it comes out, there's like a little T. So this only prevents things that are like in a fine consistency like frozen fruit sorbet that's totally broken up, or maybe peanut butter or nut butters that are totally broken up and homogenized. When you put like large cabbage through there, it leaves big large chunks, and large chunks get stuck behind this little safety thing so that you can't put your finger in and get chopped off by the juicer while it's running. And in addition, I think this is like a double protection, because they have one here and then they have an additional one in the spout. So one of these guys is not needed in my opinion. So yeah, there's definitely more limited functionality with this attachment than with the one on the Slowstar juicer. Now, an optional part that the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite has available is the smoothie attachment that I hope to play with more in the future. Basically, that's a juicing screen that basically doesn't let any pulp out. It just keeps things mixing inside the juicer and lets all the juice come out, or more like a smoothie. It's going to keep maybe more fiber in there. So I look forward to playing with that and maybe using it for low RPM, basically grinding or making smoothies. So that's going to be really cool. Now with that, I guess that's the non-juicing aspects. I want to get into the juicing aspects, and primarily I'll be covering the machines itself. I mean, each machine comes with its own attachments, including both machines come with 2 collection cups, one for juice, one for the pulp. Both machines come with sieves, and this one comes with a plastic sieve. This one comes with a stainless steel sieve. Both juicers come with cleaning brushes. Well, this one comes with 1 cleaning brush. This comes with 3 cleaning brushes. The Kuvings Wholesale juicer comes with a nice recipe book. The Slowstar juicer has a few recipes in the instruction book. Both come with pushers. Yeah, I mean, and both have, of course, 10-year warranties. So that's very important. You know, the warranties on both these machines are 10 years. And I want to encourage you guys to purchase a juicer with a long warranty. But not only a juicer with a long warranty, but a juicer with a long warranty with a company that has been around the block that's going to stand behind the warranty. Because even if you buy a juicer with a long warranty, if the company disappears tomorrow or in a couple of years, poof, your warranty is gone like Puff the Magic Dragon, right? Tribest has been around over 25 years here in the United States. Kuvings has been around for over 25 years in Korea, and the U.S. division is relatively new, but I think they're a pretty solid company here in the U.S. as well, so that's definitely really good. A lot of companies that produce lesser expensive machines than these, in my opinion, are just fly-by-night companies and just producing really cheap juicers that aren't going to last. And I want you guys to buy a juicer that's going to last, so you can make the lifestyle changes that you want to make, so you guys could lose weight, get healthier, have more energy. I know juicing works. I've been doing this now for 21 years. I've been juicing consistently and eating a diet that is abundant in fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And the juicer is the #1 tool that I use to eat more fruits and vegetables, which are the best foods on the entire planet. And that's why I'm really excited about juicing. And because juicing, I attribute it to saving my life. Because I almost lost my life when I was in my 20s of spinal meningitis due to a complement immune deficiency, which is a chronically weak immune system. The doctors blamed on my genes. So I really had to make some radical dietary and lifestyle changes, and juicing is a big part of that for me. And that's why I sell juicers today, because I know they work. And I juice every day. I haven't met anybody at any of the companies that I represent that juices more than me. Yet. I hope they start making and start juicing more than me, because then maybe they'll make their machines better, and they'll see the things that I see in the machines, and they'll keep improving. And I like when new companies come out with new machines and hopefully raise the bar. And the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer Elite, in my opinion, has definitely raised the bar from the original Wholesale Juicer non-elite model. So if you're getting a Wholesale Juicer, I do only recommend the Elite model C7000. I do not recommend the B6000 anymore, because this one's definitely better in my opinion. So with that, let's go ahead and get into the review and sharing with you guys the differences and similarities between these two machines. The first thing I want to say is that these are both vertical single auger style juicers. What does that mean? So vertical means the auger runs vertically. That means up and down instead of horizontally. Both these companies make horizontal single auger machines, and basically the horizontal single auger and the vertical single auger, there's pros and cons to each. Which one's the best? I can't clearly say without knowing your exact needs and what you're going to do. Like if you said, hey John, I'm going to juice like wheatgrass and sprouts and leafy greens and microgreens like 99% of the time, then I'll say, hey, get a horizontal juicer. They're going to do a lot better than a vertical one. But if you said, hey John, I'm going to juice like fruits that are nice and firm 90% of the time, I'm going to say, hey, get one of these guys. They're going to do much better on the fruits than the horizontal ones. If you said, John, I'm going to do a mixture. I don't know what I'm going to juice. I'm going to juice, some firm fruits, some hard veggies, and some leafy greens, and maybe some wheatgrass sometimes. Then I'd say go with one of these. These machines are by far, faster to use and clean as overall time, invested. Also, they're more forgiving when juicing a wide variety of items. They do pretty much everything and do mostly everything fairly well. Whereas a horizontal is really specialized in juicing certain things and are maybe not so good at juicing others. I have plenty of videos comparing these style machines to horizontals. If you're interested in that, I'm not going to really get into more of that right now. But the verticals I like because they're the most versatile. I juice leafy greens, hard vegetables, and fruits in my kitchen almost every day, and I do a wide range of them, from cactus fruits to cantaloupe to papaya to Asian pears to pomegranates. I've juiced all kinds of different things, and I have videos on it too. Turmeric, carrots, greens from my garden, baby greens from the store, and that's why I use, and they sit on my counter, is the vertical single auger juicer, because it's the most versatile, fastest to use and clean, which is important to me, but it also makes a very high quality juice as compared to those high speed machines that run in excess of 10,000 RPMs. Let's talk about RPMs for a second. The Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite runs at about 60 RPMs, revolutions per minute, and the Slowstar juicer runs at 47 RPMs, revolutions per minute. So these are really low numbers. Like, does the 13 RPMs, the difference between these two machines, make a difference? I don't think so. I mean, it's not significant to go either way. So yeah, but yeah, I really like the lower RPMs. They really, increase, as shown by documented studies by actually that they did and made with Kuvings juicers. It showed that the polyphenol content and was higher compared to a blended mixture or a high-speed mixture, and then taking that juice from a slow juicer, put in a petri dish with active live cancer cells. The slow juicer juice had a higher percentage kill rate of the cancer cells than the high-speed juice, and that's really why I go with the slow juicers these days. It takes a little bit more time than a high-speed machine, but you are worth it. You are worth the time, and your body will thank you for the added level of disease protection from extracting higher quality and quantity of nutrients. So yeah, with that, let's get into taking these juicers apart here. Okay, first we're going to go ahead and take off the top, and this is a feed chute for the Slowstar juicer. And let's take off the top for the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. So as you guys can see, big difference. Whole Slow Juicer Elite, Slowstar. The Whole Slow Juicer Elite feed chute size is about double. This is a 3-inch wide feed chute, and this is maybe 2.5 by 1.5 inches or so. Yeah, significantly different. This is a one-piece funnel and feed chute, and on the Whole Slow Juicer, I do like that they have a removable funnel if you don't want to use it. I really like the funnel, and that's a new feature on the Whole Slow Juicer Elite for this year. I actually kind of like this top piece better because it's actually a smoke plastic, so you could actually see through. Both these components are BPA free. Let's see, the other thing I don't like on the Slowstar is actually on the top of this. I don't know, it looks like a spider webbing. I don't know if you guys can see that on the video there. But things get stuck in here, and like if you juice drips in there and pulp gets in there, it can get harder to clean. I don't know why they did that instead of having it flat. And then on the bottom there's like these little teeth things in here, or little grooves or something. Anyway, just another place that things get stuck in can be harder to clean. I kind of like this. It's just real easy to get in there and clean, no nooks and crannies like the Slowstar top. Alright, moving along. Next, let's get into the auger. So here's the auger on the Slowstar juicer. And here's the auger on the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. Alright. So as you guys can see, these augers are made out of the same material, the GE Ultim, which is 8 times stronger than plastic used on previous slow juicers. They are claimed as virtually BPA free, or that's what Tribest claims, and I would just imagine that Kuvings would also claim that. But nonetheless, you're looking at the auger sizes are different. Are you going to say, John, is the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite better because it has a larger auger than this guy? Well, it depends. I mean, they have a larger auger because they have a larger feed chute, and they need to have a different shape auger to help feed in all the produce going in the machine. So it works a little bit differently. Like this basically takes the produce and just literally cuts it, barely cuts it, and basically mostly just squeezes it up and compresses it down and presses and squeezes and crushes, and then the juice comes out. On the bottom, this is a recessed on the bottom, so this is new for Kuvings. I really like this over their previous model. And there's a stainless steel insert here that may help to do some grinding in the machine. Over on the Slowstar juicer, I like that they actually have a dual blade. So whereas this one pretty much it just crushes, this one actually kind of helps you cut. So this is going to help, you know, stop to get the outlet ejection port on the drum, you know, minimize the clogging, which is a big challenge with vertical slow juicers, especially the first generation ones. So this helps to cut the produce to some extent. That being said, I still encourage you guys to cut your produce. And then the produce goes down the auger and is basically crushed and squeezed and juiced. Also, this has the underside that you know, is recessed in there. And don't worry when pulp gets underneath these guys when you're juicing, when you're done juicing. There will be pulp underneath here. You will need to be cleaning it, and this is normal operation for these machines. The underneath here kind of, in my opinion, acts as a stress relief. So all the pulp kind of just, you know, flows down, then it kind of flows up and underneath there until some pressure is built up to push it out. So yeah, that's how these are designed. Next, let's take a look at the juicing screens. Different matter here. That's the juicing screen on the Slowstar. Here's the juicing screen on the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer Elite. So if we look at the screens, let's see, the first stage screen on the Slowstar has significantly more screen area. So does this mean it's going to get a higher yield? Potentially. And the screen area on the second stage of the Slowstar looks to be about the same as on the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. Now, I don't know if you guys could see that. I could see that, but if you guys look, this is more like a funnel shaped, and this is kind of more, not quite like a funnel shape, more like a cylindrical shape. So, you know, there may be more square area of screen on this also. Let's see, like we could almost fit that inside. The other one doesn't go all the way in. But the other thing that's very different about these is if you look through the bottom of this, you could see all the way through. And over on the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, you can't see all the way through because it does have a bottom with a bushing on there. So Kuvings has moved the bushing out of the base that you'll see in a second into this piece, which I think has reduced leaking on the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. And you know, they still have the bushing in the bowl. I haven't figured out really which one is better. I haven't seen any leaking with this style yet, where I have seen leaking with this style. That being said, you know, with this style, because there is no pulp ejection port in the bottom of the screen like there is in the Whole Slow Juicer Elite, you know, I rarely see any clogging with the Trivest Slowstar, where I have already clogged up the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite with some Armenian cucumber seeds that just basically wouldn't flow out. So I like that, you know, there's less clogging because there is no additional hole for the pulp to get jammed up in. Yeah, let's see. Oh, and then the other thing is this is a lot larger screen, so although there probably is more screen area, there's also more plastic that you're going to have to clean off, and all the juice drips and all the pulp off of. And I wish, you know, they would just minimize the amount of extra plastic so you wouldn't have to do extra cleaning. Let's see here. On the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, basically there's 3 locking points that lock the screen in to the main juicing bowl. And over on the Slowstar juicer, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different locking points that kind of lock this screen in the bowl. So the juicing screen on the Slowstar is kind of locked in much more firmly. Alright, next piece is the automatic wiping blade. So the job of the automatic wiping blade is to spin around on top of the screen and with these silicone wipers to keep the screen clean. This will improve your yield, also help to wipe the juice off, to, you know, brush it out of the ejection port and get it into your glass so you could have a higher yield. Both these machines, you know, on the bottom have the teeth that drive the wiping blades. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, this is white, this is black. The white will tend to stain over time, and I personally kind of like the all black unit myself. Also, Kuvings has probably upgraded this, the silicone flaps a little bit over their previous model for better operation. But yeah, these are pretty much the same. Now the part that's majorly different is the bottom of these guys right here is the main juicing bowl. This is my used Slowstar juicing bowl. As you guys can see, it's all clear. I like that a lot. And let's see, and it has the silicone gasket right here. And then on the bottom here, there's a little flap, and this flap should be removed for cleaning. And when you're ready to juice, you want to put it back in. What this flap does is provide some back pressure on the pulp to keep it inside the machine to get it wrung out longer and hopefully achieving higher yield. The job is basically to only let the pulp out when it gets kind of dry and there's extra force pushing on it, because there's force pushing on it, otherwise the extra force is going to push out and squeeze out some of the juice. In addition, in the handle of the Slowstar juicer, there's basically a little lever system with a spring. So I have had some reports, if you're not careful, you could get juice or pieces of pulp in there, then that's going to be really difficult to clean. I try to make sure I don't get a particulate in there. And there's a little spinner here on the Slowstar that I personally haven't had any reports of it breaking, but I have heard of some people having problems. I have not experienced that myself. Then of course on the Slowstar we have a juice pulp flap right here, so that actually closes the juice from coming out, so you could actually mix in the bowl. I actually do not recommend that. I believe it will lower your yields, so I do recommend always leaving that open. So over here on the Kuvings, we're going to hold this one up and this one up at the same time so you guys can see here. I mean, they're pretty much kind of about the same size, but this one has no gasket in the middle. So that's going to make cleaning significantly easier. Also, this side, the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite actually does not have that little pulp flap that I showed you guys on the Slowstar. This will also make cleaning easier. Now, because they did remove the pulp flap, does this mean they might get lower yields in the juice because the pulp might be coming out wetter because there's no apparatus to hold the pulp back? I guess this is possible. Yes, this also has a flap here, nice stainless steel or chrome plated flap, and the juice outlet on this machine, the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, is much larger than on the Slowstar. And that doesn't probably matter too much because juice is going to come out. It's just juice. Doesn't have to be super large. The other thing I like about this is that instead of being driven by a gear on the bottom that basically attaches to a gear on the top of the motor housing, this is run by basically when the motor is running, it turns a little gear inside here that then turns a gear on top. So I like this a lot more than the other setup, although once again, much like the Slowstar, water could get in where that little pin is for the safety switches. I have seen water get in where this gear is underneath the juicing bowl of the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. But yeah, the several times that I've cleaned the Whole Slow Juicer Elite, I would say that it's actually a tad bit easier to clean than the Slowstar due to less nooks and crannies and less parts. And I mean, this piece is a breeze to clean, since the way this is set up is that all the pulp is pretty much left in the juicing screen in the bottom instead of the bowl. So now you're just cleaning juice out of this bowl, whereas in this bowl you're going to have to clean out a lot of pulp and juice, which makes cleaning take a bit longer. Of course, the last piece on both machines is the motor base. And both these motor bases are nice and heavy duty. Both these juicers are actually made in Korea. They make some of the highest quality juicers. I do not recommend purchasing juicers from China. In general, I find that the motors are not of the same quality, and of course the parts are not of the same quality either. This is a 200 watt motor over on the Slowstar side, and this is a 240 watt motor over on the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer side. Does the extra 40 watts make a difference? I wouldn't really say that's probably a big difference. I would say that it's more important than the more powerful motor is to see how the juicers perform when you're dropping in big carrots, and if one stops and one doesn't, you could have a more powerful motor that just still doesn't have enough torque to rip through and juice carrots. It's like having a big American muscle car that gets really poor gas mileage versus having a Toyota Prius, you know, that really gets great gas mileage, right? So yeah, just because it's bigger and more powerful on paper doesn't actually translate to being a better juicer just because of that, you know, criteria. So the next thing I want to do is actually want to go ahead and reassemble both these machines for you guys, and then we're going to actually be juicing similar amounts of produce in both machines. So to assemble the Kuvings wholesale juicer, really simple, real easy. We're going to go ahead and take this main bowl, set that on the housing like that, really easy. We're going to go ahead and take the automatic wiping blade here, put it right onto the screen. We're going to find a little red dot here, line it up with a red dot on the bowl, drop that right into place. Then we're going to go ahead and take the auger. The auger kind of just goes right in there, and you spin it around until it seats all the way down. And then you're just going to go ahead and take the top, line up the red dot on the top with the red dot right here. Goes down in place, and then turn it in place. If you have it assembled correctly, there's a magnetic safety switch, so there's no mechanical switches to fail, and then you should be able to turn it on. And we assembled it correctly. Now the Slowstar, a little bit more challenging to, you know, assemble here. Okay, so the Slowstar here, you're going to take this drum or the bowl, put it on the main base, and then you're going to spin it to lock it and close it in place. Then you're going to go ahead and take the wiping blade and the screen, lock that in place. White dot here, line those guys up. Then you're going to go ahead and take the auger. Auger goes in, just seats right in, make sure it's pushed all the way down. Then finally you're going to take the red dot on the housing, line it up with the white dot over here, and then just snap that into place to line up the white dot on top with the white dot on the handle. And if you've assembled that correctly, it should turn on. I think, you know, they're both about equal amount in the noise level. I'd say maybe the Kuvings wholesale juicer Elite, maybe a tad bit louder, but not much. Alright, now that we got our juicers all assembled and ready to juice, let me go out and get the produce, and we'll do the produce weigh-in to make sure we have a fair fight. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and do a weigh-in on the produce. We got the scale tared out, so that's why it's at a negative reading based on the weight of the mason jars. So we're going to go ahead and put this mason jar on the scale. It looks like we're down at 14.9. Take this guy off, and we're going to go ahead and put this mason jar on. Same ingredients. Looks like we're at 14.9. So it looks like we got a fair fight. This is approximately 2 pounds of produce in each machine. Alright, so I'm just about ready to start juicing, and I'm going to go ahead and juice in the Slowstar juicer first because we have 3 different items. We have some spinach, celery, and carrots. We're going to rotate the items we're putting in. So we're going to put, you know, a bunch of spinach in there, then maybe a little bit of carrot, then a little bit of celery, then more spinach, and keep repeating this until we run out. Now the thing you're going to notice is I'm trying not to use the pushers on either of the 2 machines. You know, on a vertical single auger juicer, it's my opinion that you should never use the pusher and let gravity feed the produce in, because then the machine is taking it in at the rate it wants to versus the rate you think you want to feed the produce in. And I find most people who use a pusher in a vertical single auger juicer are feeding produce too fast, which then causes excess pulp in the juice and a wetter pulp, and also may cause clogging in the outlet port where the pulp comes out. So for this reason, I do not encourage you guys to use a pusher unless the produce gets stuck in the feed chute, in which case you can use the pusher to dislodge it. Don't ever put anything other than the pusher through the feed chute of the machine aside from the produce. I personally like to use a carrot or a piece of celery if produce gets stuck in the feed chute before I use the pusher. Alright, so I guess with that, let's go ahead and start this stopwatch and let's get juicing. Alright, first we're going to use the Slowstar, turn this baby on, open, And we're going to go ahead and start feeding in the leafy greens and the Slowstar. Once we've got some leafy greens in there, then we're going to go ahead and use a carrot as the pusher to push it in place. And at the same time, let the juicer chunk off a couple pieces of carrot. So what we're going to do for you to save time, we got the timer going hopefully, is we're going to just juice all this stuff up for you, and we're going to come back at you when I'm done. Alright, so I'm about done juicing the Slowstar. Got just maybe a half a handful of spinach left here. Juice. Let me go ahead and get all that. Throw that in the juicer and put this last yellow carrot in there. I think we got everything out of the feed chute. Drop that last carrot in there. We're officially out of produce, so this is a good thing. As you guys can see, the Slowstar worked without problems. It never once had to get shut off or reversed or anything. Pulp kept coming out, even though it's not at the full width of the feed chute or the ejection chute. This is all right. What I am noticing here though is I used my Pyrex glass collection cup to collect the juice, as well as a nice fine sieve to remove all the excess pulp, and so it's actually quite full. So we're gonna have to shake this down a little bit. But anyways, I always like to run the juicer just a little bit longer while the juice is still dripping out and while the pulp is still moving. This means the juicer is still working. Don't just put the last piece in and shut it off, and you're gonna probably sacrifice some yield. I mean, right when the pulp stops moving, that's a good time to shut it off. I mean, it's still moving and we're still getting some drips. The other thing I like to do is I tip this guy up, see if there's a lot more juice to come out or not. Alright, I mean, I think we're pretty much good. We're going to go ahead and stop that machine. There's no longer any drips, and check out the time. It took nearly 7 minutes, 6 minutes and 51 seconds to juice in the Tribes Slowstar juicer. Next, let's go ahead and transition over to the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer Elite. I'm pretty confident it's going to take less time with the water feed chute. Alright, so let's hit the start button and let's get started. So I'm going to do the same thing on the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer Elite. I'm just going to rotate the produce as I put it in, and I'm so glad they have a brand new funnel here that's going to make feeding the juice, or feeding the produce in, a lot easier. So yeah, handfuls of the greens right in the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer Elite, no problem whatsoever. And we're probably going to use a carrot to help push it down in there. Alright, we're going to go ahead and fast forward this for you to save you guys some time. Alright, looks like we're just about out of the spinach for the Kuvings Wholesale Juicer also. Maybe like one more handful. Get the rest in there. Alright, all out. And of course we have one last carrot. I always do encourage you guys with either machine, you know, carrot should be the last thing you feed in. And we're just going to stick it in, let the machine chunk off a bunch, and let it run a bit more before we feed more in. Alright, then we drop it in, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Alright, also as you guys can see, or you guys probably can't see, the Kuvings has also created a lot of the fine particulate that's being held back by the strainer. And once again, we're going to let this machine run, because if you turn it off prematurely, you may be losing some yield. Alright, looks like the pulp has pretty much stopped flowing. Once again, I like to tip the machine forward to make sure we get all the juice out. And then we're going to go ahead and turn that baby off and check our time. Alright, our time is 5 minutes and 21 seconds. So 5:21, maybe like took 1.5 minutes less, approximately. So that's really telling. I guess the other thing is I want to check the pulp for you guys. that came out of both machines. This is the pulp out of the Slowstar. This is the pulp out of the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. Now we started with the same exact volume or weight of produce. We're going to take the pulp here in my hand and we're going to squeeze it. So I mean, I'm seeing a few drips. The harder I squeeze, the more drips I get. Next, we're going to go ahead and take the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer pulp and squeeze this. You guys see that? Like, I saw more drips coming out of the Slowstar juicer pulp than this juicer pulp. Like, I barely got any drips. That's actually quite impressive. Yeah, my hands is like notably like wetter. On this one, I mean, it's not that it's dry, but it's just less wet. So this tells me that the Kuvings was potentially, created a higher yield. Of course, it all comes down to the juice. Let's go ahead, and I like to use these spout caps for is to stop dripping on the counter. So I'll put those guys down. I do not encourage you guys to mix inside the juicer. Here's the juice from the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, and here's the juice from the Slowstar juicer. Now, I don't know if you guys could see that, but there's a lot of, whoa, I spilled out all the pulp. But anyways, there's a lot of pulp inside these strainer baskets, so I'm going to sit here for a little bit and try to shake these down and get the juice out. Alright, so after vigorously shaking these down, I shook this one down so much that there's actually less pulp inside. All the liquid went through the screen. I did not use like a spoon or anything to kind of sift it through. I just shook it down vigorously, and there's less pulp in there now. And then on the Slowstar side, I shook this down also vigorously, but still there's more pulp, inside this sieve. In addition, I don't know if you guys can see that, but on the table I spilt a bunch, so that may, throw the yields off a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look now at the two yields from both these machines. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at the yields. Once again, I did spill some, oops, on the TriBest side, totally by accident, just trying to show you guys all the pulp that was created. And if we take a look at the level of the juice here, looks like we're right at the 2 cup mark, which is basically just says cups. You can't see it, but that's 2 cups. It's kind of worn away, and you can see it's right at the 2 cup mark, and then we got a bunch of foam above the 2 cup mark, and then we would have had a little bit more juice, but I don't think that would have made it really go up significantly there. Over on the Kuvings side, where actually I did not spill, as you guys could see, there's the 2 cup mark right there, and actually there's more juice than the 2 cup mark, and even if the Slowstar had the extra juice in there, I don't think it would have yielded this much, because also aside from just where the juice mark is, you could see like the foam layer, that adds at least another half a cup that will basically dissolve down into some juice. And over on the Slowstar, actually looks like that layer is much less. Alright, so now that you guys saw the yield differences, that the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite actually made more juice than the Slowstar juicer, this is maybe a little bit surprising to me, but not so much, because this is a newer juicer, and as time goes on, the juicer manufacturers get all the competition juicers, and I'm sure they do testing, and they try to make their juicer better than the competition's. So hopefully TriBest will actually come out with a newer model that's even better than this model in the yields, because guess who wins? Does the companies win? No, you guys win when you guys are juicing with these machines, and you get the latest machine, you're going to get a little bit higher yields. Now, the yield really in this situation is negligible. I mean, maybe another 100 milliliters of juice or something like that, not a super lot. But it is clear, even though I spilled some, which I will, that was my bad, the Kuvings still made more juice, and there would just be a lesser difference. And this was also evident by when I squeezed the pulps. You guys saw that the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer pulp was drier when I squeezed it out. There's less juice in there. So this would also lead me to believe that the Kuvings was just actually more efficient. And the other thing is, when I strained the juice out with the same sieve, there was actually more pulp left in the Slowstar side than the Kuvings side, which was interesting to me, because in the previous days with the first generation whole slow juicer model B6000, there would be more pulp in the Kuvings side, but it looks like Kuvings has improved the pulp status with their new machine, which also would be another reason why this machine yielded more, because more of the juice went in there, and there's less pulp in there. So next, really important, I want to go ahead and taste the juices. So we're going to go ahead and taste the juice from the Slowstar first. Get a little sample. This is the same recipe, so I'm testing for mouthfeel to see the particulate that went through the strainers. Nice and clean, strained down to this level. Tastes like a cold pressed juice. There's like no particulate. Let's go ahead and check the Kuvings. Oh, this one looks like it might be a bit thicker. We'll see. No, about the same. Wow, both delicious juices. Both these juicers made about 2 cups, which is about on par. In general, a pound of greens will make about 1 cup of juice, and a pound of carrots or celery approximately would make 1 cup of juice. So we juiced about 2 pounds, and we got 2 cups of juice. Wow. So that's a simple way to know how much produce you're going to need to make a juice, because 1 pound in general makes 1 cup of juice. So yeah, the Kuvings made a little bit more than average, and the Slowstar made about average, which is quite admirable. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and have to declare the winner of this juice off between the Slowstar and the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, and I'm going to have to go ahead and name the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. Big upsets lately here at Discount Juicers. The Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite beat out the Omega VSJ 843 when I juiced 2 pounds of carrots, and now juicing greens, carrots, and celery, it beat out the other top contender, the Slowstar juicer. So the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, is making some of the highest yields for any vertical single auger juicer on the market at this time. So actually, I'm quite impressed with that. Of course, every juicer has its pros and cons. The pros of the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite C7000 model was that it took about 1.5 minutes less time to juice the same amount of produce. It made a little bit more. I'm not going to say like a landslide win, but it made more yield for sure. It had a drier pulp for sure. Some of the downsides were that it doesn't have that dedicated attachment like the Slowstar does for the homogenizing. Another thing that I've seen before is that on some larger diameter carrots, the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite may stop up, like when I juice them with the VSJ juice off. I've never been able to stop up the Slowstar by putting the carrots in there that just keeps piling through it. Also, of course, the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite, $70 more than the Slowstar at present time. So, $70, you could buy a lot of produce, and it's going to take a lot of produce to add up to just the small incremental differences. But of course, with the time, 1.5 minutes quicker, and also you have the smoothie attachment that you can buy separately for the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite Model C7000. And of course, the sorbet maker only makes sorbets, and in the Slowstar juicer, you could make sorbets, nut butter, salsas, grind up cabbage, all kinds of other tasks as well. So yeah, every juicer has their pros and cons. I'm just here to show you guys what actually happens when you juice in both machines the same exact amount, so that you guys will know. And this is what I just like to do, So at present time, the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite is going to be sitting on my counter, and I'll be using that a lot to get to know it better, and maybe I'll start liking it more than some other juicers I have used in the past. Only time will tell. Right? Every juicer has its pros and cons, and unlike the manufacturer, I try to just show it and tell it like it is, right? And I try to encourage all the manufacturers, whatever the company is, to raise the bar, right? Raise the bar, make your machine better, send me a machine, I'll test it against all the ones I've tested before. And I want your machine to be better. I don't care whose machine is better. I just want juicers to continually improve, so that you guys, the customers that are going to be juicing every day like I do, I'm probably my best customer because I juice every day, is going to get better performance and better value and save more money in the long run by getting a drier pulp. So I'm glad that Kuvings has appeared to succeed with the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite. It makes more juice. It does better. I'm impressed. Oh, and they got the funnel. I love the funnel, man. Yeah. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this episode, I would encourage you guys to support me and my work by making your purchase at discountjuicers.com. Your purchase allows me to continue to make these educational videos about juice-off comparisons, demonstrating juicers, teach you guys about fruits and vegetables, and teach you guys how to grow your own food. So I want to thank you guys for those of you guys that have supported me in the past, and for those of you guys that will support me in the future. Also be sure to like this video, give it a thumbs up right down below. If you do, and I see a lot of them, I'll do a lot more videos with the Kuvings Whole Slow Juicer Elite as I get to know it better. Also be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. You never know what juicers I'll be battling or what new juicer I'll be sharing with you guys in my upcoming episodes. And my videos come out every 5 to 7 days. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, over 400 episodes at this time, comparing all the different major brand juicers to one another so that you guys could find out how each juicer works in different situations, and I can help you get the right juicer for you, because that's what's most important to me. Not that I sell you a juicer, I mean I do want to sell you a juicer, but I want to sell you the right juicer. You know, most stores, companies, big box stores selling juicers, right, they don't have the experience that I do. They don't show you guys what the juicer does. You get to read the box, the salesman knows probably not much more than what's on the box of the juicer in most cases, right? I know these juicers inside and out. I could take them apart. I've used them blindfolded, and I'm here to share with you guys the wealth of knowledge that I've learned about juicing so that you guys could be an expert too and get the most and best out of your juicer so that you guys could make the health changes in your life that you desire by including more fresh fruits and vegetables in your diet with these amazing juice machines. So with that, I gotta drink some spinach juice and I gotta go in. So once again, my name is John Kohler with discountjuicers.com. Be sure to visit discountjuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors. Lacanum.